Hey, how's it going guys? It is Olivier and today I'll share with you my full investing portfolio update for the month of September 2024. As always, after sharing with you what are the different individual stocks that I have in my portfolio, I'll be showing you what are the different ETFs that I also have, what is also the different sectoral distributions that I have in my portfolio, and finally, I'll share with you the different transactions that I've made over the past month. But first, it is important for you to understand that I haven't been able to invest that much in the stock market over the past couple of weeks since I had different big expenses to pay. First, at the beginning of September, I had to pay the last part of all my taxes for the fiscal year of 2024 on my property, but I also had other different big expenses linked notably to the fact that I just moved in my new apartment, as you can see here where I am currently in my new office. So now, without further ado, let's take a look at what my investing portfolio looks like. First, in the technology sector, you can see that I have 4 of the big GAFAM, which are Apple, Meta, Google, and Amazon. That all represents a certain portion of my overall portfolio. But as you'll be able to see later on, I have started to reduce certain of my positions in these companies to be able eventually to pay off my mortgage even faster. And I also have a certain portion of Tesla in my portfolio that represents close to 8% of my total assets. Overall, you can see that all of these companies have been able to perform quite well compared to the average price, where notably Meta has been up by over 130%. Now going in the energy sector, you can find that I have 2 big oil companies in my portfolio, which are Enbridge and Pembina. And so in the case of Enbridge, that currently represents slightly less than 5% of my assets, you can see that it hasn't been performing that well over the last couple of years with some unrealized profit of over 20%. But in the case of Pembina, however, you can see that I have been able to make some great potential unrealized profit of over 100%. However, keep in mind that all the unrealized profit that I have included in this tab doesn't include all the massive dividend income that I've made from certain of these companies. For example, on its side, Enbridge only by itself is distributing over 6.5% of quarterly dividends to their shareholders. Now jumping in the financial sector, you can see that I have 2 companies in the form of the TD Bank and the Manulife Insurance Company. On its side, you can see that both of these companies worth a certain portion of my assets, where on its side, Manulife has been the best gainer with some unrealized profit of over 90%. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for my 2 different communication companies, which are Bell and TELUS, that have both been negative compared to the average price that I've paid for them. But on its side, my consummation company, Couche-Tard, which has been talked a lot about recently with their intention to buy the 7-Eleven company, has been doing fantastic with some unrealized profit of over 47% at the moment. Then for my materials company, Savaria, you can see that over the last couple of months, it has been able to gain some great value and reach some unrealized profit of over 50%. This type of great momentum has been followed by my real estate investment trust company, Raucan, which has been up by close to 40% compared to the average price that I've paid for. And we can also see that my super small stake in 5N Plus has been doing fantastic over the last couple of months and years with some unrealized profit of over 52%. Then when we jump to the ETF section, we can find that the first ETF that I have in my portfolio is the Vanguard S&P 500 Index ETF. So by tracking the 500 largest American companies, you can see that my overall portfolio has been having some unrealized profit of over 32%. Then for the second ETF on my list, which is the iShares Core Equity ETF, which has the objective to track the overall market, we can see that compared to the average price that I've paid for, it has been able to achieve some okay return over the last couple of months and years of about 5%. Then for the third ETF on my list, which is the iShares S&P TSX ETF, which is tracking the global Canadian market, we can see that it has been able to return some great return over the last couple of months of about 9%. This type of return has also been achieved by the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, which is an ETF investing in some of the highest dividend stocks in the US market. But on the upper side, you can see that the Vanguard Dividend Appreciation ETF focused on dividend grower in the US market has been doing fantastic with some unrealized profit of over 26%. Then we can see that for the last ETF on my list, it is basically my cash liquidity in the form of the Global High Interest Savings ETF. This is basically investing in multiple types of high interest savings account in the Canadian market that represents about 12% of my total assets. So in total, my investing portfolio currently worth over $171,000 with some unrealized profit of over $42,000, which currently represent an upside of over 33%. Here you can see a wider view of the different ETFs that I have in my portfolio that are currently up by over 13% and that have a current value of over $60,000. In the future, my objectives with this will be to invest even more in ETFs to reduce also my position in individual companies. And it is notably why I want to be able to add a great international ETF to my portfolio. And I also want to increase my overall position to the global market by investing more in XEQT, which is my global stock market tracker that's only worth less than 8% at the moment. Here you can see the sectoral distribution of my portfolio, where we can see that in the first position comes the ETFs represent by over 35% of my total assets. Then we can find with no surprise the technology sector that represents close to 28% of my assets, followed by the financial sector. And after we can find the energy sector, the real estate sector, the consumption sector, and the communication sector. And the last two represent sectors in my portfolio are the material sectors, and the other sector represents by my small stake in 5 and Plus. Finally, for the transactions that I've made over the past month, you can see that I've mainly been liquidating certain of my different individual stocks and ETFs, where you can see that I've been reducing my total asset ponderation VFV because I personally find that the overall stock market is currently pretty high. I've also been selling all my position in the Rumble company that isn't a company that I'm looking forward anymore, and I've also sold a few of my Amazon shares, Google shares, and Meta shares. These transactions had the main objective to increase my liquidity pool for potential real estate by investing more in the cash ETF, because as I told you, my main objective right now is for the beginning of 2025 to be able to even pay back more of my total debt on my current real estate property. Because at the end of 2025 or at the beginning of 2026, I want to be able to refinance the property that I have and that I've already gained a lot of value, and basically buy a bigger property, for example, an 8 units, to be able to build myself an interesting real estate portfolio for the future. But talking about real estate, if you're looking to find how I've been able to buy my first real estate triplex at the age of 2024, well, check out the video that's going to be right over here, and I will see you soon. Peace.